welcome you to another edition of This Is Wrestling. It is Lee Versage with two in-person guests. It's a road game for me, but not for Hornsey. Zach McGibbon, it is your pleasure to have me and your next guest in your family home. We would never, ever drive to Bell Vegas. But you have come to us, so we thought, you know what? We'll make a nice attempt here to make it a home game for Hornsey. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. This is very different for me, recording from my humble abode here in the previous home of Barrhaven. And we are relaxed here. We're in the basement of the home, and there's a cat in front of us that's making her presence felt as well. But it's good to talk with you all. It feels good to talk with you all in person in a recording session.
Tanner Reil is here as well. Now, a home game for you as well. How far is the drive from your home to apparently Zach's humble abode? Pretty sure it's his parents, but
yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, you said it was a home game.
It is because you didn't have to drive anywhere. But Tanner, how are you?
I'm great. And yeah, 11-minute drive for me. Just on the other side of Barrhaven, a little bit of a hike. I could have walked if I wanted to, but this is great. I mean, I know you guys have done a couple episodes in person before, but this is the first time for me with you guys. And
is Barrhaven the most complicated suburb to get around in the entire world?
It's got to be better than Orleans.
No.
Come on.
No. Like, I was on, Zach, like, it's taken me Google Maps under all these different places around these bends. It's like I could just throw a rock and get to most places, but no, I got to drive 7 minutes around. Tanner probably lives 1 kilometer. It took him 11 minutes to drive here.
Well, if you threw a rock, you would get into Rockland, I would think. I think that's how it works with the Ottawa, the way you get around the city.
I understand you think that I'm strong, but throwing a rock from Barrhaven to Rockland?
Yeah.
That's a little bit of a distance.
I mean, if Ken Patera can throw a boulder into a McDonald's, why can't you, Lee Versage, throw a rock?
We got a lot to talk about. We got a couple of editions coming out because we don't often get together like this, but we are going to talk some C4 season finale. And of course, Tanner Reil, you were there. I have had the privilege of watching the entire show. Zach's watched most of the show. Mark, he didn't feel like some of it was important enough to be able to watch, but I think he watched most of it. Zach, is that true?
I did watch most of the show. I do
tell the truth on this show.
You do tell the truth. I did try to get all the show, but I've been in vacation mode the last little bit. But I watched the main events. I watched the opener. I watched the pre-show. I watched the underground title match.
What was the number that you threw out, Tanner? 9 days that Zach had a chance to watch this?
It was last Friday. We were sitting here on Sunday afternoon.
It's like a new month.
But Zach had the time to watch the Saudi show.
Oh, okay. This is C4. This is a local wrestling show right now. I can promise you there will be an episode coming out a little bit later that we're going to talk about Bill Goldberg and some other people that I don't want to talk about. But there's also, I think, a great show with AEW coming up soon. But C4, the season finale, and what a card this was. Just, Tanner, the buzz, because you were there. The buzz beforehand going in. You've been to how many season finales before?
I think this would be 3 or 4 for me. I'm not quite sure. I think since 2021 was my first C4 show when I moved up to Ottawa here for college.
But a number of season finale shows that, kind of take us into the summer, and of course Fighting Back, and then the new season beginning in September. What was the buzz like going in?
It was fantastic. I think the buzz around the season finales and Fighting Back is just on another level. I think it's warmer outside. Everyone's coming in. We know we've had a whole year of build up for these feuds. They put the big matches on. Obviously, this time we had the steel cage as another thing that I've only seen once before in C4. Adds another element there. And it's a strong card, whether you are only going there once or whether you have been going to the last shows for the last year or so and getting all of this build up.
How was the temperature in the building? Was it really hot in there?
It was a little warm. We had a lot of rain like right before it. Not as bad as the month before, actually. Like I was waiting in my car because it was a downpour right up until like 7:15 to get into the Preston. So anything was better than last time because there wasn't pouring rain and there wasn't lightning, but No, it was nice.
I noticed there were some fans when I was watching the show with some fans like just it looked like it was hot. And I'll actually reveal some insider details here.
You were the guy fanning Tanner?
No.
Okay.
But there was a relative of mine that was at the show. My brother, in fact, was actually doing some of the videotaping of the show. So he was mentioning how hot it was as he was going around trying to film.
So insider details.
Yeah.
He was videotaping the show.
Yeah, he was filming with C4 for C4.
So he works for C4?
Well, I won't say works for C4. He works in conjunction with C4. If that makes any sense. He worked with the main guy who works with C4. If that's
okay. So Tanner, what I'm trying to understand here is C4 asked his brother to work, and he said yes. That really is the end of.
It goes to show you they're going for Zach's brother and not asking him to come out.
I know.
Yeah, the hell of a point.
That's okay. That's okay with me.
Hey, when we get to sit here and talk about it,
yeah,
we don't need you working for them. We
No,
need to be able to talk about it.
Of course.
Okay.
Evil Uno probably mentioned how high his booking fee was too from
Right.
Mystery a couple months ago.
Yeah.
Okay, so we had a number of title matches, and I think one of the things before we talk about the individual matches that I really enjoy, and Tanner, you've watched them, as you said, you've been there going for years. Zach, we've been watching for years. One of the things we complain about on this show, I think, quite a bit is the short-term storytelling. And I don't think C4, since I've been watching it, really falls into that like at all. They start something and they have a plan, and I don't always agree with the plan, but the fact that they have one and they, for the most part, stick to it all the way through the year because they have a vision to get to, another landing spot, and they stick to that. I think that so much credit given to them. Zach, you can even talk about that first. Like, it just doesn't happen in wrestling anymore, and we see so many short-term things. I applaud Mark and the guys at C4 for sticking to what is a pretty good game plan throughout the entire course of the year.
Yeah, especially when it comes to independence, because there's such a volatility. You never know if a guy is or girl's gonna back out of a booking, or they get injured or anything like that, because they're all independent contractors. So you're kind of at the will of, they have to fill their dates for the weekend. So the fact that, and I think it's just as a testament as well to Mark and his ability to stay very successful with C4 for so long. You always hear about promotions where, especially with the output that he puts together with his events, where it's, once every month they take a break in the summer. But you consider the output, obviously the longevity that they put in as well, and being able to push, some new stars. When I was starting to watch C4 wrestling, guys like Keith Lee was coming in, Joey Janela, Donovan Dijak came through as well. So a lot of prominent names, obviously Cody Rhodes during that Fighting Back show as well. So there's been a lot of names that have gone through, but through that as well, they've been very good at also trying to showcase some of their local talent. And, I think that was also kind of a theme here with this show, where they really put over a lot of their guys on this show.
Yeah. And Tanner, to the sticking to the plan part, you've kind of seen that as it's gone through. Do you appreciate that? And can you see it show to show? Because it feels like Zach said, they have a overarching plan of exactly how they're going to get from September to June. And in the middle of that comes people backing out. We got to insert this person here. We got to make shift along the way, but they still don't alienate from that overarching plan.
For sure. I think it helps having a season system that you don't really see in wrestling, where a lot of the shows are, the story never ends. It lets them really set up a story at the start and follow it all the way through. But I think they also allow themselves to adapt a little bit. Like you mentioned, people get signed, people back out of dates all the time. We know McCray Martin, he was scheduled for a championship match a couple months ago, got hurt, and they had to blow that off until the next month. We know that maybe Evil Uno winning the title wasn't necessarily probably their plan at the start of this season, but they were able to adapt and write a really good story that followed through the entire year.
Yeah, and you hit on something there, right? I think before we've been used to, at least for me, the WWE having stories, and when do they start their build towards WrestleMania? I don't know. Sometimes it's Survivor Series, and obviously with the Rumble, people winning and going on to WrestleMania, they have some sort of a plan. But that is the idea, is that things sort of end at WrestleMania, and then they go in a new direction. Over the course of the last few years, I felt that less and less and less. That after WrestleMania, it's really no different. Do you like the fact, Zach, that C4 has that? Yeah, it starts in September and they have a season finale in June, and you can see the thread that goes. It's kind of like a regular season in hockey or football or whatever it is, that there is a season to what C4 does.
Yeah, I think that's a great point you mentioned there, because, you know, one of the things you hear about wrestling all the time is there's no off season. It's 52 weeks. It's continuous. There's always something going on. But I think that's one of the unique things about C4 is that there is kind of an off season, kind of, you know, take a step back, examine how guys are and gals are on the roster and where they're at after their pushes. So it's in a weird way, because for so long people have been saying, "Oh, wrestling, it's 52 weeks. You're always getting something. You're always getting something going." But with this sort of off season as well, to kind of look back and look at everything, it kind of helps, you know, map out what you want to do. And plus, in the case of C4 and how they've been able to establish themselves in the community and being established in Ottawa, and there are guys that I know for a fact, like when they work indies, one of their goals is to work C4. When you also have that credibility behind you as well, so that you can work with the talent to come up with storylines and come up with ideas and be open to those sort of ideas, I think it really comes through in their product. And I think that's why they've just been so consistent for so many years, and why you still have, there are people at those shows, and Tanner, you've seen them, they're the regulars that are always there. But that kind of shows how, you know, they're committed to the product as well, because of the consistency that they put out each and every time they put on a show.
And one of the things, Tanner, that I think is unique about having a season is people kind of have expectations throughout a season. Like, I don't know if there were a Senators fan in the crowd of us. I don't know if there is or not.
Yeah. Is there any Sens fans?
Well, I'm not sure, but if there were, it would be like, okay, you could watch, say, an athlete start at the beginning of the regular season, get to sort of the season finale, and at the end, do they maybe win a secondary title? And that's a good season for them. Like the Senators, they got to the playoffs. They won a couple games in the playoffs. Yeah, they lost to, you know, a terrible team, but no, the Leafs. They lost to the Leafs. But that's considered a good season. They made the playoffs. They took some steps. And at the end, you kind of sit back and you think, okay, there's some growth there. And that's kind of the way I look at C4. I look at, and we'll talk about some of the new champions that we have within the company, but that's kind of the way that I look at it. Like, okay, this was a good season for, say, the new underground champion, which we'll talk about. This is a good season for, you know, maybe a couple of tag teams, that kind of thing. And I look at C4 differently that way. I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, for sure. And I think Zach mentioned it earlier that especially this show, it was a lot of their homegrown guys. Like, these are C4 guys. These aren't your big AEW names that are coming in for the booking that headline the show. I mean, we didn't really have one of those big guys on this card. And I think there were quite a few of those actually throughout the year of C4 shows where they're not bringing in that one big name, where maybe years in the past we were expecting it every single month. But I don't think it hurt the product at all. Like you said, you mentioned the new underground champion, Junior Benito, another one. These guys that 2-3 years ago in their seasons were on the undercard, battling these big indie names coming in and getting that rub, maybe working their way up to like a mid-card title shot. And now we're seeing them close the show. And I think it also just speaks to the level of talent that's in the Ottawa scene and how much it's growing. And obviously it's helped by the Keep over in Gatineau producing a lot of these talents, and other schools over in Buffalo that are feeding into it. But I think it speaks a lot about this scene, and I think it worked on this show.
To have expectations, I think, is great for somebody in the crowd, because again, no matter what sport you follow, you kind of have expectations for your team, your individual that you follow, your wrestling scene. And if they get to that certain level, you don't have to supersede that all the time. It doesn't have to be, you know, the Sens didn't have to win the Stanley Cup to have a great year. You can still have a lot of growth. And when you have a season, people look at it like that. I don't think people view it the same way as the WWE, that just whatever. It's Monday Night Raw, it's SmackDown, it's the next PLE. It's just the same thing over and over and over again, where there's no beginning and there's no end. Speaking of, we should probably get to the beginning of the actual card. Remind me what was first. again?
I think we should mention the kickoff because I think that plays a little bit into this card here.
Well, my man getting screwed. McCray Martin, pre-show. He was complaining about, you know what? He had a beef.
Yep.
He had a beef. Now, it might have played out a little bit later, but yes, we should start with that.
So McCray Martin, who main evented the last show in a losing effort, Evoluno, after his buddy Junior Benito threw the white towel in for him, was in a three-way match against Evan Greenway and Jimmy Townsend.
To think about the disrespect that my man McCray Martin got. No offense to, who is it again, Tanner?
Evan Greenway
right.
and Jimmy Townsend.
Right.
I believe it was their first match. if it wasn't, I'm sorry, guys, but I don't
Same.
recall.
I didn't know a lot about these two gentlemen, but I knew that McCray Martin shouldn't have been there. White towel, screwed all the way, but you know what? My man handled it. My man handled it.
He did. He showed up. He worked the match. He might have been a little frustrated. Might have went to Twitter. He might have went to social media to try and, voice his displeasure a little bit about his spot on the card. But who amongst all professional wrestlers have been upset about their spot on the card, right? Sometimes you just gotta let loose. If you're a TV wrestler nowadays, you just go onto your Instagram stories and you put up a vague motivational quote about how you're being let down by the company and whatnot, and you get people talking. So you know what?
Is this a carrying cross? Dig?
No, it's not a carrying cross take. It's not a carrying cross take. It's just a general observation I've seen from a lot of professional wrestlers. So you know what I appreciate about Hot Stepper? He went right to C4. He went right to C4 and said, "Look, I need to be in the main event."
Zach, just a hypothetical question: have you been to the dentist lately?
Oh, that's great. That's great. A certain doctor that might have been a little frustrated as well.
Yes, Britt Baker, of course. You're talking about.
Yes, she posted something on her Instagram story, as Zach got to, about not being necessarily happy with where she's at.
Yeah, I want to like her. That's a whole other show, though. Let's get to the beginning of the main card, though.
Well, we didn't even mention the result here. Benito was in this match, but he didn't get the win.
No. Why would he?
He got rolled up.
You talking about Hot Stepper getting rolled up?
Hot
I was
Stepper,
going to say.
You said Benito.
wasn't
I said Benito.
I'm like,
right.
I'm looking at Tanner.
See, this is why Hot Stepper's upset.
Right.
This is why he's upset right now.
And this
He's
exactly.
so right.
He's so right. The media can't even get it right. I'm actually looking at Tanner going, don't think Benito was in the match.
McCray, my bad, buddy. It's been a long day. I love you, man.
I'm like, I don't remember Junior Benito in this match. Did I miss something?
Yeah.
On the
I don't remember
pre-show?
the run-in. Yeah.
And he got rolled up in the pre-show?
Yeah.
And then he went, sounds like Seth Rollins at WrestleMania. No.
Yeah.
So
man.
McCray Martin got rolled up, but that's okay. Because we were not done.
We aren't. And we'll get back to McCray later.
With McCray Martin.
Yes. Not Junior Benito.
We will get to Junior Benito.
Yes,
but
we will get to
he
him.
wasn't in that
But
match.
we also are not done with my man, McCray Martin.
That's an all-timer. It's going to be on your end of the year blooper reel. Probably,
Yeah,
but,
there you go.
Anyways,
Benito
up
gets
next,
rolled up by Greenway, but wins the title at the end.
Wow.
What a
They
night
totally
for
didn't see it
Junior.
coming. Sorry?
What a night for Junior.
Yeah,
though.
it's just. Well, you know what? You had the Brett Owen match where Owen beat Brett at WrestleMania 10,
I
and then Brett
don't
won.
think Greenway and
No,
McCray Martin is Owen.
I am trying to save Tanner a little bit here and
and
try to
Brett,
take a comp,
but-
but
Trying to think of. Oh, was that? No, that was WrestleMania 10.
Yep.
Just thinking of 9 when Hogan came out again.
Yeah,
I'm so.
with the salt.
I have so much Hogan
Yeah.
crap in my mind.
We always find a way to get Hogan a Hogan mention on this. He doesn't have creative control clause over this podcast.
I don't think so.
Make any mention.
He might though. Like he's worked a lot of things. He'll tell
Yeah.
people that he does.
Absolutely.
On another podcast, he'll say that he does.
Yeah. Brother, I was able to work myself onto This Is Wrestling, dude.
Did you see that this date is the anniversary, by the way, of him losing clean to Goldberg?
July 6th?
Yeah,
At the Georgia Dome?
at the Georgia Dome,
Look
40,000
at that.
people, and it was maybe the greatest Hogan match I ever saw. Him
Maybe the
getting
greatest Goldberg match. too.
pinned clean.
Yeah.
Anyways, we digress. Tanner, let's get back to the card because we're not done with McRae.
For sure. We had the IWTV Championship opening up the card.
Yep.
The Battle of the Marks. Mark Wheeler versus Marcus Mathers, who's, of course, a part of the WWE ID system there. I heard he had quite the weekend as well.
Yeah.
So he wrestled C4 on Friday. He fought Dijak on Saturday, I believe it was, somewhere else, and then had another match on Sunday. I'm not sure where or against who, but quite the weekend there.
He was working the weekend. Yeah. I hope. Did he make all the bookings? He did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Excellent. This was a good opener for me. Zach, I'm growing on Mathers.
Yep.
Like I not necessarily loved him at the beginning, but I'm definitely growing, and we are battling. I just want people to know we are battling two cats that you might have thought. I don't know. We're doing a podcast downstairs. We're gonna shut the door and like keep the cats out. But one is Pixel, I believe, was with me, and now on like
this
will
is
not
Gaucho now that's coming
Gaucho?
in wreaking havoc. Yeah.
Yeah, Gaucho feeling left out at this point. And do the cats have any hair on them at all? Just a little bit?
Just a little bit of hair, yeah.
So I'm just saying we are battling through. So if you're listening, going, I'm trying to battle. What are these guys talking about? We are trying to get through this as well. Tanner handling it like a pro.
Yes.
Pixel in his lap.
Yeah. Pixel has been good.
That one's crawling across the
Gaucho has just
laptop
been
here.
wreaking havoc right now. This is some guerrilla
But I'm
podcasting
growing
right now.
on Mathers because I watched him at the beginning and thought, you know what? This is a guy like I'm waiting to see, and I've heard people talk about him, but I've kind of watched him grow. I like where he's going.
Yeah, he's somebody that continues to be like a top prospect. Not only just for WWE, but even before he was signed, he was somebody that was kind of somebody to keep an eye on in terms of his growth. He's super young. I think he's like 22, 23. And so he's somebody that a lot of people have been keeping their eyes on. He's got a good look, and you could tell he's also been keeping himself in shape too. And plus now when you have the WWE ID contract with you, that also kind of adds that little extra element, right? But he's been somebody for a while that was considered like a top prospect on the indies. So it doesn't shock me that he's continuing to grow, continuing to get better, continuing to understand the wrestling scene. And it all just goes back to kind of repeating myself in terms of like how I view some of the indies, but it all just kind of goes back to reps, right? Like just having all these wrestlers do a bunch of different reps, go to different promotions, wrestle different people, because it means so much. And I think it's really helping Marcus Mathers right now.
One of the things, Tanner, that I thought about this show was, okay, it's a season finale. People are going to want to be on their best behavior. They're going to want to give their best. Does the opening match set the tone?
For sure. And I think this was one of the strongest matches of the night.
Yeah, I agree.
Mathers is a star, man. I've been big on him for a number of years, I guess. He's been a C4 regular for quite some time. And yeah, he's got star written all over him. I love the fact that he's still coming out. And obviously also IWTV putting their title on him shows that they really value him as a high level name on the independents. Like I mentioned, 3 bookings in one weekend. For most independent wrestlers, that's pretty good. And let alone wrestling in a championship match here, Dijak the next day. That's a pretty good weekend.
But in the season finale too, right? To open up the program, and C4, he would know that night's very important to a lot of people. So I thought this was a tremendous match. Just from the opening, it opened the card the way I think a big night should open. That's how I felt after watching it.
And I think that's also not to understate Mark Wheeler as well.
Yeah.
I think he's a very good heel. The way he was getting the crowd against him shouldn't be understated. He's been a guy on the C4 scene for a while, part of Locked and Loaded, the tag team there. I really liked him in this match as well.
Yeah, Mark Wheeler's always been somebody. I've gotten a chance to call some of his matches, and I've always been very impressed. He came back from, I think it was a torn muscle. I think it was in his, and he had, during that time, just bulked up and got himself bigger, and you could tell like he has been working out and keeping himself in shape, and he wrestles a real high-paced style too. He's somebody that they rely on a lot on the independents to kind of go out there and have the great match, and so when you're going to an indie, he's usually kind of the work rate match to kind of put it in quotes. But when you have something like C4, where it's like a lot of it is work rate, it really kind of shows the level of talent that works these shows.
Incredibly, in the middle of Tanner's last answer, Zach went up and put a cat upstairs.
Yes.
A third one just came downstairs.
Yeah.
Like
Third man.
a different one.
Yeah. Talk about Hogan. The third man is the runner.
Yeah. What's this one's name?
This one's Fawn.
Fawn.
Yes.
Gaucho, and Pixel.
Yeah, and there's one more lurking around too.
Of course there are.
Yes.
And how many dogs do you have?
There's 2 dogs.
Okay.
The core 4.
Yeah, yeah, there's 2 dogs. I will admit I thought the cats were put away, but that's see, this is I'm not used to having it on home turf, right? So this is all
I
a new
know your
experience.
plan is like, what can these guys deal with? I can
Yeah.
deal with anything.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know you can.
All right.
We've had to deal with a bunch of stuff whenever we record, but no, I will say though, Pixel is usually very relaxed, and she is doing that right now. And Fawn just kind of does her own thing.
Let the record show Pixel's in a loaf on my lap right now. While I've been recording for the last 10 minutes.
Yeah. It's Gaucho and Griffin that will be the cats that because they like to chase each other around.
Who's Griffin?
He looks just like Gaucho. He just doesn't have a bell on him.
This is the other one that we haven't seen yet. Oh my lord.
He's around somewhere. He's a lone wolf.
All right. So Mathers looks good in the opener. Tanner, what was next?
Mathers got the win there with the Fisherman's Buster, retained the title. Next up, we had Crystal Moon versus Gabby Forza.
Okay, so the women's division in C4. What do you think of it now as compared, Zach, to a couple years ago?
I think there's been a lot of really good upcoming women. A lot of the women are coming from Montreal, specifically IWS. So now I know I mentioned that none of the 2 women are from the Montreal area. I believe Crystal Moon's down in the Southern Ontario region, and Gabby Forza is she had recently graduated from wrestling school. She's with Bear Bronson, and so that's where the kind of the duo is. But Gabby Forza has also been somebody, she main evented the last Femme Fatale show with Alexia Nicole, and so I think it's a good mix of talent. Jody Threat, obviously somebody who wrestles for TNA and who's also wrestled later on in the show. There's some good women's wrestlers that are coming up in not only just in C4 that they've been able to showcase, but across the indies as well. I've really been kind of keeping an eye on what's going on specifically in Montreal, because it's just there's been like 6 or 7 women that have been coming out of that scene the last 2 years. So
Tanner, there's a clear vision, or maybe you can tell me I'm wrong. There's a clear vision of kind of mixing in the women with the men in C4, and not necessarily having like, okay, we got these, crazy good women on one side, and we're going to have a women's title, and we're going to keep that kind of separate. There's a lot of mixing in the women with the men in C4. It's on purpose. So do you think that that's good? Do you think that they should kind of separate and have a women's division side title, that kind of thing, where you can talk about the women climbing up the ranks just like we talk about the men and the titles? Or is this kind of mix good for everyone to learn a little bit more? I go back and forth on this sometimes.
I'm with you. I do go back and forth as well. It's obviously great for them to get in with some of these more experienced guys, and I know intergender wrestling is a big part of the independent circuit, whether you like it or not.
Yep.
We even saw Alexia Nicole. She was C4 Underground champion about a year ago. So it happens in C4.
Wrestled in the main event against Evil Uno.
That was a great match.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I'll be the first to say I'm not the biggest fan of intergender wrestling, but there are a lot of times where I find myself surprised with how much I like it. And you mentioned that Alexia Nicole match with Evil Uno. I loved that match. So I would personally love to see a C4 women's title. I know they did an all women's show just a couple of months ago at the Algonquin Commons Theater. I speculated on this show that maybe that was the time to do it, and they didn't, but I do understand both points of view of having it all integrated.
Yeah, because look, the independents are a training ground for all of these wrestlers to get better, to at some point move on to bigger and better things. And how are they going to get better? Well, they're going to wrestle all kinds of different opponents, whether those are male or female. So I totally understand that's the priority first. I just wonder, for the women having something to shoot for, to be able to hold a title and the prestige and some of the other people that you can bring in to book these kind of big title matches, does that get them better at some point? Because I understand the intergender working with all different types of people. You can only get better when you do that in all these different types of situations. So I don't know about you, Zach. I would like to see a title, not because I think they should be separated and the women wrestle on the left and the men wrestle on the right. I very much understand the intergender, and I'm like you, Tanner, not the biggest fan, but understand why it's happening, and the fact that if those wrestlers are getting better and they all want to do it, that's what independent wrestling is for. It's to get better. So totally understand that part of it. I just think a women's title at some point will improve when you have something to shoot for and you're in kind of these main event title matches, and C4 doesn't have that.
Yeah.
So that's something, again, Zach, I've been torn on. I get the development part of it, but I think that you can develop some of the women in singles titles match.
Well, yeah, I think kind of going back to a hockey analogy, and I'll input Belleville into this conversation. When you have the Ottawa Senators and the
Took you
Belleville
longer
Senators,
than most shows, so
I know. But in terms of you have the Ottawa Senators and the Belleville Senators, a lot of their game plans are very similar because you want those guys that are getting the call ups to the NHL roster to be familiar with how their game plan is going to be. So the way I look at it is, like what you said, there is a development aspect to it. You get to work with a bunch of different people. You get to have those one-on-ones, those 2-on-2s or whatever. But I think if you want to be a pathway to television wrestling where, you have your odd moment like we had on AEW this past week with Hangman laying out Marina Shafir. But in terms of actual intergender wrestling, that's just something you don't see from the main television shows. So I do think there is that sort of element where you do want to have to prepare these women where they are, at the end of it, whether people like it or not, the main roster, how executives view it and whatnot, they view it as women's division, men's division. And so you want to train these women, you want to develop these women to be able to wrestle other women as well so that they can have that game plan ready, similar to what you see with the Belleville Senators, getting their players ready so that when they do get called up to, play for the Ottawa Senators, then they're ready to go. They're not kind of jumping in.
Now, it is on the promotion to me as well. And we've seen promotions not do this. They have titles, and we could talk about tag titles in almost every main, the WWE, AEW. They're just not pronounced like they were, like the Intercontinental title, the US title. Some of the title holders, they aren't put in positions to succeed. I would like to see if they ever did create C4, this women's title, to put it at the top of the card and make it important. And if the promotion makes it important, Tanner, then I think those matches become more important. And that's where I think the development can happen, is like having these, like, whoever it is, like, let's just say it's Crystal Moon and Alexia Nicole, and they're in a women's title match, and it's the second last match on the card because it's for the C4 Women's Championship. It's a big deal. And to me, then you get better when you wrestle in these situations that are big deals. So it all goes back to, I didn't love this match. So, but I wonder what some of the motivation is other than the development part of it, when there's nothing really to shoot for in these divisions, where they go in there and they want to have a good match. But as a fan, I go, okay, I know that they want to get better, but why would I care about who wins or who loses? Like, why? They have nothing to shoot for. And if they have nothing to shoot for, then as a fan, I have no reason to invest sometimes, other than I want to get behind them because I want to see them improve.
Yeah.
Like, all season long, I've been wanting, well, McCray Martin, but Junior Benito to win the title. And now, okay, it's a payoff at the end to see if he can win it. I don't have any investment in the singles women's matches because they have nothing to shoot for. And that's a bigger problem. And as I was watching this match, trying to go, okay, like, it's just not for me what I wanted necessarily out of the match. Like, it was all right, but I thought they have nothing to shoot for. And as a fan, I have nothing to invest in. So maybe I'm looking at it like that that was an issue for me, I guess, during this match. It caused me to have a bigger, like a broader picture of what was going on while I was watching this match.
Yeah, I don't know if the problem I had with the match was the lack of like a championship or a prize. I just found it like teetered on the goofiness a little bit too much with the party hats.
That's not for me.
Yeah,
agreed.
And that's not necessarily, and it is for some people. I get it. Yep. You got to have all things. It's just not for me. Yeah, and that's me wondering aloud about the kind of the broader horizon, but I just didn't love this one.
No, I agree.
So, all right, next.
So we'll mention there that Moon did pick up the win there with the submission. We have our big tag team gauntlet match. 9 teams, I believe we counted total. 4 of them starting sort of Royal Rumble-esque, where when one team is eliminated, another one takes the other's place, which I think you and I mentioned. It's a great format to do it.
So just to start with, you have a 9-team gauntlet that if you just had 2 teams in there would be like, oh my God, like how many teams are going to be in this? And then you're going to have to get rid of people quick. So there's not going to be these like incredible endings. I always date back to people loved old Survivor Series matches. And I'm like, why? There's 12 guys in the ring. Like one guy gets hit with a clothesline and he gets pinned. And you're like, he's never lost like that ever. But this he loses here because they got to pin 9 guys. And so going back to the format, I love this format where there are 4 teams in there at all times. And that's the way you start. And once one gets eliminated, another comes in. It is full of action. You don't know where the next thing's coming from. And it gets to the final entrance quicker so that you're not extending this match like 45 minutes. And it doesn't have to be something that people are waiting and waiting and waiting for the end. So I think it's a really good concept to start with like 8 people in the ring and go, okay, let's go.
And we see C4 do a lot of these like 8-man tag team matches, 6-man, 6-way matches and stuff. It's a format that works for them, just having a lot of these guys and girls in there at once. And this was no exception. I thought it was a very good match.
Like an action match, essentially, where you have something going
all
constantly,
the time,
keeping your attention, and it's go, go, go.
The 4 teams to start. And Tanner, you have it in front of you because I could do it off memory.
We got Triple Dragon.
Yeah.
We've got Cecil Nix and Kristara.
Yeah.
Post game.
Yeah.
And the defending champions, Scrapper James Stone and Brent Banks.
Did you think it was fair for the defending champs to be in there at the beginning?
Why not? Yeah.
Okay.
Fighting champions.
So you thought it was fair too?
Fighting champions. Why not?
Okay. I agree. I was hoping to get a little bit of.
Oh, you were. You know what? I disagree. How about that? No, fighting champions. I don't have an issue with it.
Yeah, I don't have an issue with it either, and it gives you a cause to be able to think, okay, if they can get through this, they're gonna really have earned everything in the night. So yeah, I don't mind it either.
For sure, and you're getting like I'd say 3 out of the 4 are really strong teams in the C4 division. I believe actually, that's the last 3 champions in C4 that are starting. As well as post game, which I believe it was a debut for them. They're not a team I'm familiar with.
But a nice spot to have them in. Like they're not in this crazy, like they're not coming out on their own and people are like, who are these people?
Yeah.
It's the right spot for them to be involved with some other veterans in there. And then once the match starts, the focus isn't completely on them. And then when the new teams enter, you're not wondering again, who are these people? So I really like that spot for them. I thought that was the right spot.
For sure. But getting into the match itself, I thought the start was a little bit on the goofier side for what I like, but you're going to get that when you have like a team like Triple Dragon and Cecil Nix in there. We had the Joey Ryan-esque moment. Is probably the best way I can describe it.
There's a name.
Puff's Crocs came off and were slapped around a little bit.
Oh, boy.
Ref Kyle took a bit of a bump there.
Poor Kyle.
Kyle Joseph, the man with 2 first names. His name.
Yeah, a little bit of a rough night there, but Stone eliminated post game, and that was our first out there. And then out next, Le Tabernacle team, or I should say, Matthew St. Jacques, all by himself.
Right.
No Thomas Dubois in sight. Not sure what's happening there, possibly on the shelf again, but he's going in solo.
Mm-hmm. Explanation? Just that.
I think Dubois legitimately is hurt.
Okay.
I think he's legitimately hurt.
I didn't see the commentary version, so I didn't have the context that you would.
Yeah. No, but that's how they explained it.
Yeah.
But is he hurt?
He is legitimately hurt.
Okay.
It's unfortunate. He's been dealing with a lot of nagging
these-
stuff that's pulled
These
him out. from time
commentators
to
for
time.
C4, I don't know whether to believe them or not.
You listening, Dr. Bob?
Oh boy.
I almost called him out by name, but you did, so that's
Yeah.
awesome. That was
I'll get a
Tanner
DM
Reil.
later.
Tanner Reil. Dr. Bob Tanner.
Yeah, send your angry DMs, Dr.
At
Bob.
Raw
to
is
Tanner.
Gibby on X.
No, not me, not me. I already have to see enough on my timeline.
All right. Where were we?
So TDT out next. Banks ended up pinning Pretty Ricky with a frog splash.
Yeah.
So that knocks out Triple Dragon.
I was glad to see them go.
Former champions there.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
It's okay, yeah.
I'm just
You had
not,
your fill?
I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm done with the triple
It's
dragon.
fun. I don't mind Puff in small
Yeah,
samples.
I
He's pretty over.
No, he pretty over.
Well,
He,
I mean,
he
he's
is
getting
He's
big.
so
probably got to be top 3 on the whole.
he is
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
over.
Yeah.
It's just the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get a little bored with
It's
the same.
fun in doses.
Yeah.
But
He's great for the live crowd. He always gets a
Yes,
big pop for the live
I'm just
crowd.
saying as champions, we're gonna have to do something about like it's nice in doses, but I was glad to see them out. That's all
Yeah.
I'm saying. Sorry about that, Pretty Ricky and Puff.
Yeah.
especially when they are replaced
Yeah.
by Stu Grayson and London Lightning.
Let's
Yeah.
go.
That's a great tag team. I'm glad that Mark is going through with that.
I
think
agree.
that works really well.
Are the rumors true that London is working with one and only Cody Rhodes? So I hear
Really?
underground. I'm just saying I've heard those rumors that London and his brother have been down working with Cody.
I can tell you that I don't know for sure, but I do know that I have seen Storm Rider is London Lightning's brother's name. I got to call his third match that he's ever done,
Mm-hmm.
and I am pretty impressed with what I saw. He wrestles very differently than London. He actually, like, with the hair and the gear that he was in, he reminded me of like 1992 Scott Steiner. Just, not on the gas, obviously, but there was a lot of 92 Scott Steiner there.
So
which is
some
like-
breaks, not all gas.
no, that's right.
Yeah, okay. Good. No, I did hear a rumor that London and his brother were down working with Cody Rhodes' school.
Mhm.
And anything like that for young people is incredible, right? To
Yeah.
be able to do that. So
And I did see his brother around at the Preston as well, wearing the event staff shirt,
yeah,
paying the dues like we've seen London
Hey,
and Junior and
I
all
hope
them
so.
do.
Good.
So maybe he's someone we're going to see there next season. Who
But you're
knows?
right. I do like the team
Yeah.
as well. I mean, Stu is just so good.
Yeah.
He is the perfect person to like run the keep and still be able to come in these shows and mentor other people and still put on a good show. Like he's quickly developing. Like before, to me, like way back as part of like Dark Order and stuff. Like I knew of Stu Grayson and how he got there and stuff, but just because of the local scene, I have come to so appreciate this guy.
Every time he wrestles here, he's levels above anybody else.
Right. And
in
you
my
can see
opinion.
it,
Like,
right? Like
it blows my mind that
Yeah.
AEW passed on him.
yeah.
But that just shows like the level of talent that
Oh,
it
yeah.
takes to be on top.
There were a lot of people fighting for Stu to try and get a bigger push on AEW TV because he is I stand by it now. I've worked with Stu and I've been on this and I've called a match or two of his when I've done commentaries. So, there's a little bit of bias here, but I do believe that he is such an underrated wrestler. Like, when you hear those people that do lists, is like, here's the most underrated wrestlers of all time.
Yeah.
Here's Ricky Steamboat on this list. And I'm like, Ricky Steamboat's on this list? Like
Underrated.
yeah, underrated. He was the
NWA
world champion. Yeah, like,
Intercontinental
what
champion.
are you talking about?
Yeah.
Underrated. But I'm talking like real underrated, like nobody talks about him. And Stu Grayson to me is one of those guys that continue, like he knows his role on the card and he knows how to be the best match on the card.
I still go back to that match a couple years ago of Stu and Kevin Blackwood
Yeah.
when they wrestled to a 60-minute time limit draw at C4.
Yeah.
That's one of the best matches I've ever
but
seen.
you bring up a really good point, Tanner. In when you watch him, you immediately see the difference of like a veteran that still understands exactly what to do to be really good. And then to me, I look at all the other wrestlers and go, okay, how do you get there? Because he is showing you, he's not just telling you at the keep. He's not just trying to take you through. He's showing you when he goes out there that he is still that much better.
Right.
Yeah, and I know we talked about a couple months ago on the show when Megan Bain came through, and we were looking at her and we're like, that's a TV wrestler.
Yeah.
When I look at Stu, I still say that. Like,
Oh, yeah.
He's on that level. for sure.
And then when you are like that, to have like no ego, to be able to want like your what he tries to do is help other people, right? And mentor other people. And when you are really good, because he's really good, you only have to watch him for like a minute to go, yeah, that guy's
He
like
gets it.
head and shoulders above almost anybody that's in here. And what he wants to do is then pass that along to other people. That's what he wants to do by being the best one. He doesn't need to be the main event. He doesn't need to be, at any point. He just needs to be there. And you're like, I want to watch this guy. And for him to want to pass that down to everybody else, I just have so much respect for that.
How much do you think London is taking away from getting to team with him for the
absolutely.
last couple months?
It would be an incredible feeling to me to be a young wrestler to go, you're going to team me with that guy. I get to, like, I know he's with them in the keep and stuff, but I get to go out on shows and be a team with that guy. Man, to just watch him each and every day, incredible. So yes, that was a long-winded. Stu Grayson and London Lightning are the next team out.
Yes.
Yeah. So the next one eliminated would be Cecil Nix and Kristara. MSJ, Matthew St. Jacques pinned Cecil after a pile driver.
Also, not upset to see this.
No.
Yeah. Goodbye, Cecil.
Not a Cecil Nix
Kristara,
fan.
no.
Ouch.
Yeah. Sorry, Cecil.
He's got his moments, but yeah.
Yeah.
You know, one of his finishing moves is called the roadblock. Do you remember WCW's roadblock?
Zach, I'm old enough to have lived and watching it on my television every week going, what in the world is happening? Yes.
So you're a big fan.
I didn't get to go back and go, hey, this is kind of funny, but I never have to watch this again like you.
Right.
I had to watch it.
You had to watch it in real time.
Do you remember? Yes, I remember Roadblock.
I remember the WWE pay-per-view Roadblock.
Of
when it was
course.
Triple H and Dean Ambrose. in
Roadblock
Toronto.
end of the line.
That was the second one. The
Yeah,
first
that's
one I
right.
think was just Roadblock.
Roadblock into the line.
Was that in Hamilton?
It wasn't on Toronto. I didn't go. It was in one of the two for sure.
What am I thinking of? The In Your House, what was it
They
called?
did 2 or 3 of them.
In Your House, it was in Hamilton.
I'm trying to think. Well, I know the Rumble was in Hamilton.
I just remember.
The very first Rumble was in Hamilton.
Oh, I know that.
But-
Come on. Hacksaw Jim Duggan winning?
Yeah.
Wasn't on pay-per-view? It was just
Nope.
a show?
Yep.
Oh, I know why I didn't go to Roadblock because I went to Mania. That was like a month later.
See, there you
Oh.
go. See, that's just a
Well,
slight
I know.
flex there.
Where was Mania?
Dallas. It was 2016
Yeah.
because
Okay.
it was Triple H and Ambrose.
Oh, 2016 you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was Triple H and Ambrose
No,
at
this-
Roadblock.
The one in Hamilton was before that.
There was a couple of them. Anyway,
Okay.
weird
yeah,
tangent.
that's okay. The cats are distracting me.
It's running rampant here.
It is a zoo.
We've
when
got
I,
one right by the laptop and all
when
of our
I
recording
say it's a zoo
equipment.
in here, like it is a
One's
full,
walking across.
Is it going to screw the
Hornsey's
recording
computer.
up, Zach?
Are we good?
Is it? Well, we'll see. We'll just keep talking.
Adobe Audition is really holding on there.
It is. We'll hold down the fort, Zach. Okay.
Right.
That's the signal for you to, it's better for you to go put do you have a door, Zach? Upstairs? Okay. I'm just wondering if people have doors in their homes to their basement. So yeah, goodbye Cecil. Goodbye Kristara.
Philly Marino Experience are the next ones out.
Right. I didn't know a lot about these guys.
They've done like C4 appearances kind of sporadically. Like they
Yeah.
come in every couple of months, but I know that they're anything to really write home about on my end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they were all right. Anyways, Matthew St. Jacques dodged a chair and Stone hit Banks, his tag team partner.
Mm-hmm.
And the two of them, they were sort of like a Cesaro and Sheamus-esque team where They feuded for a number of months. They actually had some really good matches
Yeah.
against each other
And then
that
came
I
together.
enjoyed. Came together, won the titles here.
Yeah.
And then accidentally there, the chair shot. Stu then eliminated him as well.
Mhm.
So guaranteeing us new champions with the defending ones eliminated with still
What was the reaction in the building when that happened?
surprise for sure.
Yeah.
But just seeing that chair shot, I don't think anyone expected them to be out that early. With still a number of teams left, including Philly Marino Experience.
Right. Who were going to go on to win the tag team championship? Philly Marino Experience, Zach? No, they weren't.
I know who wins the tag team.
Yeah, I know. But to the point, again, this is well booked to me. When the champions are out early, fairly early, you're like, okay, like it's not the last one and you're wondering if they're going to retain or oh my God, they lost it. It's no, they're out. There are new champions, but who are those new champions going to be? I like that feeling as a fan.
Plus that plants the seed. You know, we talk about the seasons.
Yeah.
How it starts and ends here, but also planting a seed maybe for next season.
Mhm.
And that's something I think C4 is really good at. Of how are Banks and Stone
Yeah.
going to recover from this? Is
Exactly.
this going to be dissension that leads to the two of them splitting up?
Mm-hmm.
Because spoiler alert, the team that won at the end is one that they've had a lot of problems with over the last couple of months
Yep.
and couldn't beat for a while. But anyways, before we get there, 8100, Project 8100, Dexter Doom and Hattie are the next team out.
Mm-hmm.
I love these two.
Maybe my favorite.
They're so good.
Yeah, I mean Dexter Doom, my personal favorite.
Of course.
Yeah.
I wonder why.
Well, why, Zach? Why would Dexter Doom?
Well,
just be
Dexter
a
Doom has
personal
been
favorite
threatening
of
to kick
mine.
my ass for the last 2 years or whatever. So,
He's actually becoming not a favorite of mine
oh,
because I need him to follow up on the threats.
Right.
And it's like, what?
Yeah.
What point are you gonna actually do this?
you need like video. You know,
Yeah, no, like do it. Don't just threaten. Do it.
He did send in when we did the 200th episode. We were asking for voice messages. I didn't ask or anything like that. He took
Yeah.
it upon himself to congratulate us on 200 episodes and whatnot. So he's a good guy,
No,
despite the fact that he wants to kick my ass.
Yeah. Well, no, that makes him a good guy. The threat to kick your ass.
Maybe for some, maybe not for me.
You hear the fear, Dexter, in his voice.
Yeah.
I'm just
And
a
that was-
commentator.
Now's the part where we surprised Zach by saying we invited Dexter to his family home and he's
jeez.
coming into his basement.
Oh
here.
God.
Yeah. He
Oh.
just has to get past the cats first. and
Yeah.
then-
Yeah.
Yeah, and and the two dogs.
Yeah. So Project 8100, they are out.
They are out, and TDT would soon be eliminated by London
Mm-hmm.
via submission there. And then I believe our final entrants coming out: Kevin Blackwood and Haley Dillon. So we've got our final four there.
So when they came out, did you have a feeling of who was going to win?
I had a pretty good idea once I think the champs got eliminated there. Once
Okay,
Banks and
but
Stone, I was like, okay, I think they're gonna pull the trigger on this.
Okay. I liked it because I didn't know if they were going to. Like, I thought, yes, it's possible. But when Kevin and Haley came out, I'm like, they're going to win titles.
Really?
Yeah. That was my thought. And I don't know. I just thought it was the next step for both of them to be able to do it. So I like the fact that there was some intrigue. So take us through now that all the teams are there.
For sure. So we had Haley Dillon eliminating Philly Marino shortly after. A bit of dissension teased again between Haley and Blackwood there.
Mhm.
That was teased on one of the last shows. Haley tagged herself in and got the win, and Blackwood, I wouldn't say he looked upset, but he looked kind of confused. And
What
that
the
happened
bleep are you
here.
doing?
Pretty much,
Yeah.
yeah. And then Haley on this one, I believe she low-blowed one of the other opponents there, tagging herself in. And then she also accidentally hit Blackwood at one point.
Was it an accident?
I think so.
Okay.
But they're definitely planting some seeds there. And I know Haley's kind of changed her character the last couple
Well, she
months.
totally has. Yeah.
Yeah, she came back there from a pretty bad neck injury, I believe. Looks completely different, dyed her hair, has the I'm a Star character. So they're definitely teasing something here with Blackwood and Haley, and I wonder if these two are going to be coming to blows next season.
I thought that they were going to, I guess, win despite that, and we'll get to who won. But I thought that was something that they were going to continue the same storyline, just with the tag belts on to see how they would handle it. But that did not end up happening. Because what did, Tanner?
Well, the two of them would be eliminated there shortly after, leaving two teams, London Lightning and Stu Grayson against Project 8100. I thought these two had a pretty good series there towards the end. I like these two teams a lot. But Dexter Doom ended up rolling up London in the end and taking the title.
I was pumped for them. But once it got down to the final two, like I knew Stu and London weren't winning. I actually, like I said, I thought Kevin and Haley had a chance to continue that storyline, but just what Project 8100's been through, this was a culmination of a lot of hard work. Zach, and this is a theme on the night that that their own guys, their local guys, what C4 has done to bring them along to be at the beginning of the shows. They were part of, not the beginnings, but I mean, they've been here for a long time and they've worked their way to this moment. It's a big moment for them.
For sure. Yeah, it was. And kind of going back to that theme of the main event there, where it was like student versus teacher. It was kind of that a little bit too, with Stu Grayson on one end and then the students being Dexter Doom and Hattie. They had really been building this up. They've had, Dexter Doom and Hattie face off against some pretty established tag teams, Violence is Forever off the top of my head. So the fact that it's now kind of culminated in this, it's funny. It just kind of goes back to the strategy we've seen with other guys that are just kind of up and coming that, what they want to push further is they'll bring in somebody from the outside, like an established name, have them face one-on-one, or in this case with the tag team, you do a tag team match with them, you get their names established and get credibility behind them so that eventually you can pull the trigger in scenarios like this with a season finale where you have the big title win and it means something and you know that they deserve it because they've been putting in the work. They've been having the matches. And so I'm really, I was happy when I heard that they had won. And I know, especially in the case of Dexter Doom, he had been reaching out. I don't know if the name Cesar Bononi rings a bell at all, but he used to work in NXT. He was like an NXT wrestler. He's now a trainer for a lot of different wrestlers in AEW and WWE. He's helped train Ethan Page and whatnot. He reached out to him, Dexter did, to Cesar Bononi and was able to get himself into really good shape. And so they've really been putting in the work. And Hattie's another guy that I really like. Like, I really like his look and the gimmick. And so that together with that tag team and seeing them being able to come to this point being C4 tag team champions was really great to see.
Yeah. The start of what was the theme of the night. That was a long tag team recap.
There
were 9 teams.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I guess it deserved that.
Yeah.
But congratulations to Project 8100. And yeah, I mean, what they're going to do with them taking the next step next season. I don't think there was and you can talk about this, Tanner. There wasn't anybody to me in that arena as a fan going, yeah, they don't deserve this.
Yeah. Everyone's behind them. I mean, you mentioned Doom. He's the first graduate of the Keep, I believe is a big part of his gimmick.
Yep.
Hattie's a guy that I'm personally a really big fan of. Because not only do I think he's great, but behind the scenes, he's a really good dude. I've got a friend that had a really good interaction with him that I won't share on the program, but made me a fan of him for life.
Oh, good.
But yeah, Hattie and Doom, they're phenomenal. I see a lot of like FTR in them, in their style. I know their slogan is kind of similar with the no flips, just fists.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've seen, I mean, they've wrestled Banks and Stone a number of times throughout the season and gotten a lot of wins. Zach mentioned Violence is Forever, but building themselves up over the season. I think it was only a year and a half ago where they were on the kickoff show and they weren't even in this spot. And now they're being trusted with the C4 Tag Team Championships.
Yep.
And I expect they're going to have a really good run.
I will be creating a sign for, I would think, the season opener in September that just says, London lost his team the Tag Team Championships. Okay,
really drive it home.
Well, he got pinned.
He did get pinned
and lost the titles.
Yep.
Okay.
Mainstream's already turning on another one of his guys here. Remember, you were gassing up Junior, and then it was London, and then it was McRae.
I tell the truth. Who got pinned to lose the match? London Lightning. He could have won the tag team titles for his mentor, his guy, Stu Grayson, who we just sat here and all said is the greatest. And London Lightning lost the titles for Stu Grayson. What do you think that feels like going back into the locker room and letting that guy down? London, now you have a whole summer to think about it.
All
Oh
I'm
my
saying
God.
is McCrae Martin, if you're listening, just enjoy being Lee's flavor of the month for the next couple of weeks before he turns to someone else, maybe 8100 here.
My man McCrae, do not listen to these guys.
Yeah.
I'm just saying the truth is London had a chance to win the tag team titles with what we think is the greatest wrestler on the card, maybe.
Yep.
And got to that spot and let his mentor and everybody else down in the match. That's all I'm saying.
Paul Heyman over here, like recruiting and getting the next guy, and then
It was nice to have London on your show.
Yeah,
but
I
that's
know,
probably not
I
happening
know.
anymore.
Paul Heyman, Don Callis. Actually, I'm thinking more Don Callis for Lever Sage.
If London doesn't want to come on and have people actually know who he is anymore, no problem. Okay? If he doesn't want to come on, no issue. He'll want to come on. Blinded by his Zubas. Well, I'm just saying, I wonder what the conversation between Stu and London was like walking back through that curtain, looking at Stu Grayson going, I lost you the tag team championships. Okay?
Hey, I'll take Stu versus London if they want to book that.
See?
I'm on board for that.
You see, London, how Tanner's all of a sudden, yeah. What was next?
The 4-way title
Oh,
match
that's
for the WXW, I believe it was, title
Yes.
out of Germany.
Yes, they used to partner with WWE for a few years there. Yeah, that's where Walter got his name recognized.
Who's Walter?
Sorry,
Gunther.
My bad.
Yeah.
Oh,
But anyways, a 4-way match here. We had Bear Bronson coming back for the
Yeah.
third show in a row. I'm really enjoying him in C4. Dom Greeny, one half of Violence is Forever. As he's waiting on Kevin Koo to get cleared from injury. I
Mhm.
think he's set for a return pretty soon, if that hasn't happened already. Sheldon Jean, another guy that I've really enjoyed lately. And then one called Manders, the defending champion. He's been in C4 before, but I think it's been around a year.
Yeah.
I
I think it was at that show that Manders was at, because that was the one he took the Masato Tanaka Mike
Oh.
Awesome powerbomb on.
That's
I was
right.
like, jeez.
He's done 2 or 3.
Yeah,
But it's
that's
been a
his
while.
thing now. It's like, I mean, that helped get them noticed. So I guess, in a way, it's kind of like LA Knight, mixing The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin. It's like, oh, it's The Rock, Stone Cold Steve Austin. Well, it's also the two most popular stars if you're
Yeah.
going to take anybody's promo.
So I like this match. What I don't like sometimes is the fact that there's a title that I don't have a lot of familiarity with. And all of a sudden it's like, okay, there's 4 guys wrestling for a title that I really don't know what it is. But the match I thought was pretty decent. But I have an issue with that, I guess, as a fan going, I don't really know what the stakes are. Like, there's a title here, but I don't really know what it is.
And I think if you're going into it and saying, okay, this is a title from an independent in Germany, it's probably not going to change hands
Right.
in Canada. Whereas,
100%.
if it's C4 titles, even like the IWTV title, we saw those, I believe, changed hands. If it wasn't in C4, it was around here when Fresh Air got those titles.
Yep.
So going into it, you probably know who's going to come out with the win. They're
Yeah.
probably not going to change the WX title in C4. But I thought
love
the
it.
match itself
in Germany,
was good.
it's 5:00 in the morning. Oh my God, he lost.
Yeah. Waking up to Bear Bronson as your new champion.
But I think they put on a really good match.
Yeah.
A lot of meat in this match.
There-
There were some chants at the start.
People love their meat, man.
You love your meat.
Yeah, hey, big meat guy.
Yeah.
What?
Nothing.
What?
Nothing.
Say it again, Zach.
Just say it again.
love the big old meat.
Yeah.
Just let that simmer in.
Let it breathe,
Yeah,
folks.
absolutely.
We're just letting it breathe.
Big meat
here.
guy.
Yeah. But I didn't mind this match. There was some heavy hitting.
For sure.
I'll call it.
Some
I'll-
feats
I'll-
of strength.
Heavy
try-
hitting.
I'll try and use a different description.
Oh, I
lot
don't know. I feel like
lot
mine's
of,
pretty
uh,
apt.
A lot of meat slapping meat in this match.
But I guess that's my issue with a match like this. Like I said, the title.
Yeah, for sure. Like, Manders is probably going to win this going
Yeah.
into it.
It kind of goes back though to like the old school territory stuff. It's like, oh, this, you're in Georgia Championship Wrestling. It's like, oh, this Florida heavyweight title is being defended here in Georgia. So I think that's where the mindset is. I understand, because it's like, I mean, I know about WXW because I've been to a couple of shows. I remember when SummerSlam came to Toronto many years ago, and WXW had some of their shows
I
there.
understand, but as Tanner said, Sheldon Jean isn't winning,
Right.
right? Like you're not going into it. You're just okay. Now I have to appreciate Sheldon Jean for what he's going to do in the match, but I know he's not going to win the title.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
probably,
fair enough.
And probably a title that he doesn't have any aspirations to win, to be honest.
But there were some moments I enjoyed for sure. I think Bronson doing that double Samoan drop at one point was really impressive.
He is. Every time I see him, I want to see more.
He's been a highlight the last couple of C4 shows.
Yeah.
And I think I mentioned last time I'd really like to see him wrestle Young Jay Lee. That's a match that just comes to my mind.
We're going to get to that gentleman here in a
We
sec.
will for sure. But yeah, give me Gene versus Bronson as well, 1-on-1. I'd be up for that.
Sure.
Lots of guys I'd love to see him wrestle, but Manders put Bronson through a Preston Hardware door for the win.
And Doorman, we got the we got the email
from Charles.
Always
Every C4 show, we always get a photo of the door, and
appreciate that. A lot of hard work at the double doors.
I think we should also mention it was Tim Titus's birthday around that time.
Yes.
And they got him to stand up at, I don't know if this was televised, probably not.
No.
Between one of the matches, and they got a big ovation for him.
Oh, nice.
No way.
Nice chant there for
I'm so
Titus.
glad because, man, just people that go above and beyond.
Yeah, he's the one painting it. It's not Preston Hardware.
Yeah.
As fun as that chant is.
Exactly. There's some people that go above and beyond that don't necessarily want all the credit for what they're doing. They just want to be part of the group.
Right.
And independent wrestling needs people like that. And they should be showcased just because of the work that they put in. So I'm glad that happened.
Yeah, for sure. Great to see that. I know Maddie at the merch stand got a nice shout out as well. So
Maddie D.
Great to see that. Next matchup up was Threat versus Diamond.
How do you think I felt about this?
It was a match.
It was a match.
Were holds exchanged?
We're a team.
I think so. Yeah, I got to admit, like I watched a few minutes and it was like, okay, I need on to what's happening after this.
I love Jody Threat.
Yeah,
I think
I'm a
she's
Jody
very
Threat
good.
guy.
Yeah, for sure. But I go back to the same argument we had before that I just need something a little bit more to want to have at the end.
Yep.
For this.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it was maybe her opponent or something, but I don't think this one landed for me.
Yeah, I agree.
I think also just coming after that 4-way match and the tag team gauntlet, maybe the crowd was a little bit tired coming into it, but I think Threat really carried this matchup all the way through, and she got the win there with her spear and an F5.
I'm not a big fan of the F5.
No?
Can we have a different discussion on a different day about the F5 and the effectiveness of an F5?
Is there any fireman's carry move that's great? Do you like the attitude adjustment?
I hate the attitude
I'd much rather the
adjustment.
F5 than the attitude
Remember
adjustments.
Wade Barrett's The
Oh, where he ju-
Wasteland,
yeah,
where he
just
just
throw it
kind of
forward.
gently threw them down.
The
Sack
attitude
of potatoes.
The attitude adjustment's one of the worst finishers ever. Louis Spicolli
Oh, the Spicoli
had
driver?
the Spicolli driver.
Yeah,
I actually thought that one was pretty good.
yeah. That's a good one.
From the fireman's carry position.
Mhm.
But you're right. A lot of moves don't look like the attitude adjustment is just the worst thing ever. Anyway, we're gonna have a whole show on worst finishers because
Yeah.
there's so many bad ones.
Brock does it better than other.
Of
there's-
all the F5s, Brock's is the most convincing.
There's someone else escaping me that does it that gets like a real extra spin.
Oh,
on
like
it.
a rotation on it?
Yeah, I don't know who it is off the top of my
I know
head.
there was a local guy, his name's Zach Patterson, that started doing that in his arsenal. But and if you ever see Zach Patterson, my God, that guy's like incredible shape. But he started to do that. That's kind of a cool from a visual standpoint. And you know me, I love my cool looking moves.
Yeah.
So
Okay, sorry to distract folks.
We got three
will
more
have
matches.
we will
here.
have another show on worst finishers because I have so many
yeah.
to gripe about that Mercedes Monet is going to be a part. No,
We got 3 more matches here. And,
Go ahead.
and I think these are ones we're gonna have to spend a little bit of time on.
Yeah,
as they're the 3 big ones, but one more before they took their intermission to set up the steel cage.
Mhm.
And this was, of course, the Underground Championship street fight. Benjamin Tull defending against Young Jay Lee.
For the first time, not that I don't have rooting interest, but I want everyone to do well. I had a real rooting interest here. Like, I did not want him to lose this match.
think a lot of people felt that way.
Yeah.
In
Okay,
the
so
arena.
it was the same in the arena?
Yeah, because I do believe that these two actually fought a couple months ago,
Mhm.
and Myung Jae Lee lost.
Yeah.
But it's felt like this has kind of been his story for the whole season, was climbing towards the underground
I
championship.
agree. So this is the first one that C4 kind of had me. Like I enjoyed the Project 8100 winning, and like you can feel good for them. But this one was the one that had me, that as the match was going along, I'm like, you are not going to make him lose this one. Like I was invested in, I never say it properly. What's his name?
Myung Jae Lee.
Myung Jae Lee. Am I saying it right?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I appreciate him so much. The Gilmore Girls put it over the top. The shirt put it over the top a while ago. That was last year.
I don't know if you saw, he had a social media post the next day holding the title with ice cream, and he was like, "I like ice cream" or something like
Really?
that. It's so good.
Yeah. Oh, so good.
But this, again, as I was watching this match, I'm like, man, they better not make him lose. He better win this. Like I was, what are they gonna do if he loses? I'm gonna be mad.
Yeah.
It was time.
Yeah. So I like that as a fan, that I'm invested like that.
Mhm.
And I want someone to be able to do it. And I'm going to be very disappointed if they don't. So I had a little bit more emotion watching this one.
For sure. And like I said, I think it was time. Ben
Yeah.
Tull held that title for a while. Sort of the last remnants of like the Twiggy storyline
Yeah.
from, I guess, over a year ago now.
But that one was over too. Like that, to me,
Yeah.
that storyline was over. And we've been waiting for Lee to, well, that's the story of my life. We're waiting for Lee to do something. We've been waiting for Lee to get to that kind of next level
For
and,
sure.
and win this championship. And I was super pumped.
Yeah, me too. And that's not to say I don't like Tull. I think
No,
he's a
of course-
great,
yeah, I
he's a
do
good
too.
worker.
Yeah.
I love the fake out chop taunt that he does.
Especially when it's new
That's-
fans and you don't expect it.
That
It's
pops
so
me
great.
every time.
It's so great.
Yeah, he's really good at his role. But it was time for something new.
Yeah. And I think these two had a really good match. They were all over the arena there. A lot of weapons getting dragged into it.
Yeah.
Almost thought Myung Jae Lee was maybe going to go up top and dive off the balcony like he did a couple months ago.
Yeah. Get your vindication out, by the way. We've already mentioned it before, but Myung Jae Lee's dad in attendance at the.
We talked about that.
Oh,
on
we
the
have
program, yeah.
gotten.
Yeah, I've got my vindication. For
Okay.
that. Yeah.
I was
But,
just
You can
making
do it
sure.
again in the season finale here for
Yeah.
Mark, especially.
Yeah, Mark. That was Myung Jae Lee's dad in the arena when he
Oh.
dove off the balcony.
Oh,
That-
it was.
that came up to me.
Oh, okay.
But I will say that I don't know if we mentioned this on the last show, but Bear Bronson was behind us at I think it was Benito and McCray Martin at the last show, actually. The two of them fought up to the balcony, and we were kind of like, oh, are they going to do like another spot? Like it almost looked like McCray was teetering along the edge,
Mm-hmm.
and Bear Bronson's behind us, and he's like, nobody's going to go off of that thing. My friend turns around, pulls up the clip of Myung Jae Lee and shows him bailing off of it.
Really?
And Bear Bronson's like, I would never do that.
Oh man.
But anyway, this is another guy that has worked really hard. He's earned the respect, I think, of all of the regulars that go to C4, from the wrestlers to the fans to everybody, and just really happy for him to get to that next level.
And they put their bodies through a lot in this one.
Yeah, this was.
They
this
had
was
the-
hard.
The bed of chairs.
Yeah.
And then the little
The
black
little
sack
black-
came out.
Yeah.
And the thumbtacks were poured in the middle of the ring.
Oh.
Poor Kyle Joseph having to count all the pins there on the
Yeah.
tacks and all that, stepping over it. But
Yeah.
they both took a couple bumps onto the tacks. And then one thing that really got a reaction was Myung Jae Lee using the green mist.
Yes.
That was cool.
It just those little touches sometimes to elevate the characters.
Yeah.
And I thought it was super cool too. Just to add a little bit more to them. But yeah, I mean, if you're gonna win the underground title, and that's been kind of what you've been going for in the season finale, and I expected there to be a lot involved in this match, and there was.
For sure. This
Absolutely.
might be match of the night. It's pretty close.
I really enjoyed this match, and I've seen Myung Jae Lee take some ass whippings, not just in C4,
Yeah.
but in other promotions as well. That's just kind of his thing. He knows who he is as a wrestler, and it kind of reminds me a little bit of Mikey Weprek in a way, where he's like, I'm just gonna go out there and get my ass kicked, but I get so much sympathy from the crowd.
Yeah.
It's a
I
little
think
bit
a
of
little
that.
bit more offense than Mikey got.
Yeah,
back in
Mikey
the day.
barely got any offense,
Maybe like
but the same idea of just getting your ass kicked
Yeah.
and then building up sympathy with the crowd, right?
I'd say maybe like a Sami Zayn.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can see
I
that.
think I've used that as well for Junior, but
Yeah.
they're
Sammy does
really
get his
good.
ass kicked a
He's
lot.
good.
That's
He
true.
takes a lot of bumps.
And he is good at taking an ass kicking.
Yeah.
That's true. That's you know what? That's a fair comp. Fair comp.
I like the Mikey Whipwreck though.
Yeah.
Like Mikey didn't get much offense in it at all unless he like, oh my god, he won the title. Like
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Oh my god.
got his ass kicked for Spike Dudley.
Right.
Spike Dudley's maybe another one. Like,
Yeah,
like
that's
Spike
another good
Dudley
one.
got his ass kicked a lot, but he did get in some offense.
Yep.
Maybe that's a good one.
Yeah. Spike's
Too,
a good
but-
one. Yeah.
Anyway, the feeling at home when I was watching this, I hope matched what the feeling in the arena was.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. That might have been the loudest reaction of the night when Young Jay Lee got the
Yeah,
victory
good.
there. And I think it was good pacing wise to have the intermission after that, let the crowd kind of
Right.
relax while they set the cage up.
Mm-hmm.
And let me tell you, that cage, it's something else in person. Like
Yeah.
they kind of, this isn't WWE where they can have it suspended from the ceiling and lowered down
Just
all
3
cinematically.
minutes and it's all ready.
But,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
This thing's just leaning in the corner all night. And you can
Yeah.
see it there in 4 pieces, and they're trying to get it around everybody who's in line at the merch stands while they're in line for
Right.
like autographs and stuff,
Yeah.
and telling people to move, and
Oh,
it's knocking
man.
chairs over in the audience.
That's funny.
Then they're putting this thing together with like ratchet straps, holding it in the corners, and I'm like, oh my god, I hope they don't go too hard into that.
Right.
Yeah.
Or it's gonna end up in the 3rd row.
Yeah.
But the first of the cage matches, we have a tag team match. Von Vertigo and Drea Mitchell against Gabriel Fuerza and Alexia Nicole. This one's been building for a while.
Okay, so just a question. I'm not saying yes or no.
Mhm.
Did we like it's been building for a while, and I understand it's the season finale. Did this one need to be in the cage?
I think so.
You do?
Yeah. For the way Fuerza, especially Fuerza and Vertigo, have been going at each other. Yeah. And like I think Alexia Nicole's also a really big part of that.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I guess Zach, second to the question I just asked,
Mhm.
did it at all take away from the main event also being in the cage? Like when you have 2 matches that are in the cage back to back, does it take away from both of them? Not having one kind of be the special match?
It kind of goes back to how it's worked. Like, so it didn't for me when I watched both of those matches. That thought did kind of creep my head because
Mhm.
TNA back in the day used to have the big red cage, and it was all the matches or whatever, or not the red cage. What do they call it?
Lockdown? or something
Lockdown.
like that?
Yeah, that's right. And
Yeah.
all the matches were that. It's like we're really gonna have Hernandez in a cage match like this, but so that thought kind of crept in where obviously it wasn't all the card, but kind of saved the one match for the one show. But it kind of goes back, if you are going to do it, it does kind of go back to how it's worked. And for me, the way that in the tag match, I thought they worked this well, where the stuff in the main event still landed for me, which is for the main event. But I didn't have an issue with it, with the way that it would played out in the end, but it was something I was kind of going into and being like, okay, how are they going to work?
So
I think
the build for the feud, you think it warranted the cage?
for sure.
Okay.
Especially with like Vertigo and Forza, like these two were teaming up for a very long time in C4, and it was
Yeah.
an ugly split between those two.
No, for sure. And it's been a while, for them to get their hands on each other, and that's escalated.
Yeah,
It took away from me.
really.
Yeah,
Okay.
it did. I don't know whether it should have been on a separate show, and I think that's probably like, could you do anything else to have this pay off in something that's different than what the main event of your season finale is going to be? That would be my only criticism, is like, okay, you've built Benito and Uno, and with McCray Martin involved, you've built this all year long. It's your main event. It's your world title. You're going to finish it off in the cage, but then you're going to have a cage match right before it. To me, it was just a little bit, I understand like the escalation of this particular feud, and I love all the, like, Von Vertigo's turned into one of my absolute favorites. Like, I just love the guy. And Alexia Nicole has shown that she's probably head and shoulders above some of the other women, and should be in matches like this. But it was just a little bit of, man, I got 2 of them.
I get that. And I mean, you got to think logistically as well, like putting that cage up. You got to get more than one match out
No,
of it
for
if you're
sure. And you
C4.
can't like put it up and take it down and put it back
Yeah.
up. Like I get it.
And I know the last time they did a steel cage, they've done it once before to my knowledge. I don't know if before I was into C4, Zach, if they had done it.
No,
But-
the steel cage stuff has been new for them.
They did
this
it
year.
once, I want to say about a year and a half ago, and it was the same format where they have the undercard, take the break, and then it was the 2 cage matches. That one, I think it was Josh Bishop and James Stone.
Yep.
And then a big multi-person with like Benito and McRae
Mhm.
and Stu Grayson and someone else against Twiggy and his whole faction there.
Yeah. I think just, and look, this is some of the things we talked about at the beginning of the program where you have things that you can't control. Didn't one of the either Vertigo or like they got injured or they missed
Yes. Yeah, there was an injury. In
there was an injury and they had to kind of postpone the feud a little bit. I would have, like, my plan at the beginning to tell that story would be I am going to pay this off in the main event of the second last show, and I'm going to do it in whether it's like a last man standing or some sort of other type of definitive end
right.
where it feels like a season finale, but it's going to be the main event of the second last show, so you don't do the same type of match right before the main event of your season finale.
My
Mhm.
counter to that would be Sheldon Jean and Stu Grayson just did a last man standing. I believe it was at the show before.
Okay.
And then
So then my-
logistically, like, I'm
Yep.
not sure how much more extreme you can get than a cage with C4. Because
Right.
how many of their matches really have disqualifications where we don't see the door
Okay,
or the
but
chair come into play?
You're right, but then my counter to you two, because I always have a counter to people's counter.
Yeah. Like
It's
a fighting game.
It's like it's the figure 4. Like I'm gonna put the
Yep.
figure 4 on him. Tanner's gonna reverse it, and all of a sudden I'm gonna be in a lot of pain. But then I'm gonna
Yeah.
figure out how to roll
Reverse the
back.
pressure, yeah.
I roll back to put the pain back on
And I
him
pick
again.
him up into an F5.
Okay, so this is where I'm like, okay, we're the media. I'll include myself in this. Like, what if it's not last man standing? Okay, yeah, they did that before, and you're absolutely right. It's a good point. What could they have done? Like,
I
let's
know.
come up with an answer here.
Zach's a big ladder match guy. You want to see a
Oh,
ladder
geez,
match in
well,
the Preston?
don't
with,
threaten me with a
No,
good
because
time.
that
but-
big
because they didn't-
chandelier in the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say they didn't have anything to, like, this is a blood feud, and I actually believed in this feud.
Yep.
Like they didn't need a title for this feud.
No.
It had all the elements of a great feud without a championship, which I think is fantastic booking. But what else could we have done here that doesn't involve a cage?
Right. Well, I mean, on I will say when it comes to the cage, there is that sort of element of marketability where it's like, oh, you got a double steel cage main event, right? That's not something you usually see every day in a local indie.
Do you think they're on the same level though? When you say double main event, is it a double main event because it's a cage?
Well, that's what I mean. Yeah, like it's like steel cages are in our double main event. 2 heated rivalries come to an end. You know,
Nah. If I'm building to my main event with my world title in a cage, I'm not putting something beside it.
Mhm.
I'm just not.
Fair enough.
And that's just my opinion.
Yep.
So, okay, maybe the collective brain power of this group could come up with another match. You guys are not doing that
not
right
a ladder
now.
match.
Let's do a first blood.
First blood
Ugh.
I could see that working in C4.
casket match.
Okay.
Oh, come on.
Inferno match.
Hold on. First blood. Those are hilarious when somebody accidentally bleeds.
Yeah,
That's true.
When they
Like-
have to panic.
Like that would be
Yeah.
the worst thing.
Isn't
right?
that what happened with Steve Austin and Kane
Yes.
back in the day? Yeah.
Oh, right. Because
Yeah.
Yes.
Austin bled, so they put the title on Kane for like a
Yes.
week.
Yeah, and put it back on Raw.
Right. And it was like, oh my God. You can't first blood match, that's a bad idea.
Yeah.
They could
Um,
wrestle up on the balcony and throw each other off.
Yeah.
They could do that. A parking lot brawl.
Bombs
They
away.
could put someone through Zach's windshield.
Well, let's not get
in
too
the
crazy
parking
now.
lot.
I don't mind a parking lot.
Imagine that they funnel us all out of the arena and
Yeah, we have to all around.
into Little Italy, and there's
Yeah.
cars driving by.
Yeah. Oh man.
Could I interest you? And that's when they put up the cage for the main event.
While everybody's
I like
outside.
it.
Well, everybody's outside
Yeah.
watching these guys like, hey,
Yeah.
That's the poor ticket people trying to let everyone back in and get us back to our seats.
You know what? It's a respectful crowd. They'll be fine.
Yeah.
We're on to something here.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll come up with something. I understand. I don't want to take away from what happened in this match. It's just not something I would have done because it did take a little bit away from the main event for me because they just built that main event storyline all year long. They were going to finish it off in the cage, and then I had to watch another cage match.
Yeah.
That's all. But in saying that, I did enjoy the match as like if I look at it in a vacuum.
Yeah. No, it was really good. You talked about Vertigo. I'm also very high on him. I see a lot of like Adam Cole in him. That's the comparison I always go to.
Yeah.
That's not to understate Forza as well. I think he's phenomenal. Some really good matches over the past couple of years. Another guy that I think wrestled a lot on the undercard, but we've seen him climb up more and more. I think he's had a couple of main event spots in C4 as well, challenging for the title. And then Alexia, I can't say enough good things about her.
She just continues to elevate every time
so
you see
good.
her. She never looks at a place. And I think that's the thing to me that even if it's not like this crazy standout performance, is like every situation. And this is an example of why the intergender stuff does work because every situation that she is in, she never looks at a place.
Yep.
World title match against Uno, cage match in a tag team match, singles match in the main event of the all women show. It's like she can do everything. And she's learned that by being in the ring with all these different guys in different situations. So I think she's been incredible. She never looks out of place.
And super close ties with her and Farza and Vertigo as well. So it makes sense for her to be in this match.
Yeah.
Like the only real outsider is Drea Mitchell, but I get they need to even the odds up, and they're also elevating another up and coming talent here into like a bigger spot.
I think she's gonna be really good, Drea Mitchell.
Me too.
I think she's gonna be really good. She's got a look, and she's very athletic. And I've called some of her matches, but I've seen some stuff, and I think she's got a charisma to her as well. Like if she continues down this path, I think she could be one of those standout names on the
super strong, obviously.
Super strong. There was that spot where she was carrying the two people, Alexia, and I think it was Gabe on her shoulders, and I continuously blown away with some of the stuff that she's able to pull off. So I think she could continue to be a name. And I think it also means something that in Quebec, they have the Wrestler of the Year awards, they have a Wrestling of the Year awards, and they do have voters in there. And she was voted Rookie of the Year out of all the wrestlers in Quebec, that she was voted Rookie of the Year. So I think that means something. So I think there's a lot. I think there's a reason, I understand when it comes to the feud, it might seem on the surface like it kind of seems like the odd one out because there's not really that connection with her and those three. But when you look into how they kind of view her, I think that's the reason why they put her in there, because I think there's some big plans for her in terms of how she's going to grow and elevate. I think there really is something there.
Especially putting her with Vertigo as well. If you want her to learn how to be a solid heel, that's the perfect guy on the indies to put her with.
Yep, absolutely.
And I think, speaking of that, Vertigo in this match was such a good cowardly heel, trying to escape the cage immediately.
Even on commentary, they're like, "It's not escape the cage rules." I don't know why he's trying.
Yeah, that's right.
Just scared. It's so okay. Scared. I'd be scared.
Yeah, it's your hanging on the bottom rope strategy in the Rumble that you like to do, but with the cage and going to the top.
That's right. And to your point, like people went out of the cage and it was part of the match. I love the part where Alexia got locked out of the cage, only to come up the side of it and hit the crossbody onto all of them.
Yeah.
And then later in the match, it's Drea that's locked out. And all of a sudden, Von Vertigo wants to be friends again with the guy he turned on a couple months ago.
Yeah. No, I that's why I thought this style of match was different from the main event, which we'll get into. That's why I thought it worked well. Because if it was both, like, if we had the same sort of intensity and physicality we saw in the main event in the previous match, I would actually be very much in line with you.
Yeah, like say they booked Young Jay Lee's title win in a steel cage right before the main event.
Something like that.
Maybe that I would.
But it was kind of two different kinds of matches. So that's why, like, when it came to the main event and you had all the physical stuff that happened, like, it didn't take it away from me. So that's why I thought it kind of worked well.
Okay, so quick question. Where do we think Von Vertigo specifically is going to be next year? Because to me, this is one of those talents. Like, I've enjoyed watching him for a while, but it seems like he's ready for the next.
Yes.
Yeah. Would you agree?
Vertigo and Junior Benito. Sign me up.
I think so.
Yep.
Like, where do we see him? Like, to me, I kind of see him in what you're talking about, and probably not winning, but getting that sort of main event experience, and then going on to like win something else. Like maybe he does win the underground title. Maybe he does against
That's another match there, Myung Jae Lee.
Yeah.
Yep.
You got two great options, babyface champions there that need the strong opponent to go up against.
Yeah. There is a lot to work with there. And the thing with him with Vertigo is that he does have his US visa. Like he can work the States.
Mm-hmm.
So I do wonder, like, because he worked WrestleMania weekend and he worked for promotions like Prestige. I think he worked for Deadlock as well. I could be wrong.
That's right. I remember there was a show a couple months ago where he was on the card and ID was advertising, we're going to pick our next guy here.
Yeah.
I was 100% sure it was going to be Vertigo.
Right.
But it wasn't.
Yeah. But that's a guy that's a world traveled now.
Mm-hmm.
I think the States is kind of his next destination. I know we're looking at it through the lens of C4, but I actually kind of look at it as this is kind of one of his last big storylines that he wants to do, and I think his time as C4 is going to. I don't know anything personally, just a guess that I have that now that he's got the US visa, he's going to look for more American dates, because at the end of it all, like if you want to try and showcase yourself, and
sure,
you want to go to the States. So now that he has that visa, I think he's going to be looking for some more of those.
Man, Mark, I was trying to help you out there. Apparently, Zach's shipping all your guys off.
I'm sorry, Mark. I'm just, I'm
right.
trying to give the analysis that the people need. And
all right, main event time. Well, I guess we
not
should
going to mention who wins there.
talk about who wins. Yeah. I do that a lot. We've talked so long about the match. I'm like, oh yeah. Oh, and these people won.
Yes. Vertigo hugged Fuerza, which was great. Got a backstabber from Alexi Nicole,
Which
and then
was
brought
great.
up to the ropes, and they did a power bomb into a backstabber for the win there.
Yeah.
So
great visual. Saw the
So good.
clip a ton, and it was deserved. You could see it around with on a lot of their social medias.
Yeah, absolutely.
Main event time.
Main event time.
There you go.
The coward Junior Benito throwing in the towel on the last one against Evil Uno for the C4 championship inside a steel cage.
I loved Benito in this match. First of all, I think he came out like he wasn't wrestling like Junior Benito usually does, where he's hyping the crowd up and all that. He had a real intensity to him, obviously ripping Uno's mask open, just kind of showing a growth in character of he maybe took Uno a little too lightly the last couple of times when they've been in the ring together. And now he knows that he had to go to this next level to take the title back inside of the steel cage.
Well, could we even say Evil Uno did the same type transition, right? Where, he was a good wrestler, comedy guy. He's doing all kinds of different things. But at the beginning of this season, he turned that intense, I'm not joking around anymore. Like I'm dead serious. And I think the story of Junior having to get there and having to do the same thing to be able to do this. I mean, you correctly point out, I think it's Evil Uno does it at the beginning and Junior Benito does it at the end to beat the guy who did it at the beginning.
It's the student learning from the teacher, which has been a big point of this entire feud.
Exactly. So yeah, no, I don't disagree with that. When Uno came out and Benito was like that, it felt to me, okay, this is a main event for a season finale.
Yep.
Like I felt it watching it. And sometimes you can do everything in your power to try and create that and you don't necessarily get it. I got it when they both kind of got to the ring. It was like, okay, this is the last match of the season for the title. I'm like, okay, it feels like it.
Yeah.
And I think they should be congratulated on that. That's something that is hard to make people feel. You can have the greatest storyline, write it all down, but you got to make it work. And they made it work to me because I felt that when they were in the ring.
Really speaks to Junior and just how much he's gotten himself over over the last couple of years. I still remember when he was in that enhancement spot on the undercard, wrestling the AEW name that was coming in for the weekend and getting a good showing, but maybe not always winning, to getting the loudest reactions of the night, working his way up, especially last season, getting over on Twiggy there, and then finally capturing the title from Blackwood, who held the title for a very long time. And now here he is capturing his second one against Evil Uno.
Yeah, I mean, Zach, you talked about hard hitting in a different style of match
Mm-hmm.
in the cage. They didn't leave a lot.
No, it was a violent match. I really liked it. I thought this was a really great match, and like what you said there, Tanner, you got this different edge. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge to Junior Benito. That
They had to cope with.
that they had to
throughout the
cope
match?
with. Yeah,
Oh,
but you know what I
oh.
mean. But like when you look back on
I
like
apologize,
guys,
I apologize to all the listeners right now.
when you look at guys that were able to take that next step into the main event and be legitimate, and I'm not saying Junior wasn't legitimate beforehand, but you look back to somebody like Triple H and how he went through the feud with Mick Foley, and that was the thing that helped
Mhm.
catapult him and be like, all right, this is a guy that could be in the main event. We could take him seriously. You could even see it recently with Hangman and Swerve, where those guys took each other to the limit. And it worked out in the case for both guys, where they both came out, were like, both of these guys are legitimate.
Yep.
And we can cheers behind them. I think you have that sort of similar effect at a more local level, obviously, with Junior Benito, where he's willing to go the distance and fight Evil Uno and turn it into a brawl. And I really like the physicality in this. There are elements, I will say that I'm one of those steel cage guys that I like when they use the steel cage as a weapon as opposed to bringing stuff into the steel cage.
Mhm.
But other than that, like the stuff that they were able to work and really emphasize, like Junior's willing to go the distance and willing to do this so that he could get to that next level and get that title back, I thought was so good. And I will say this about Evil Uno right now, this character that he's at, like this is his best work I've seen from him. And I'm including his AEW work. Like
I totally agree.
I like he is so interesting in this character and being this like the mentor type that's turned evil and like pitting his students against each other. I think it's just such like interesting storytelling. And yeah, this is the most interested I've been in Uno in a while. And ripping the mask and targeting, and they got a great shot of like the top of his skull, like with the big red swell. Like, oh, it was just really well done. I really like this main event, and I'm glad that Junior was able to get the title back.
For sure. I think it'll be sad if Uno does go to that face character next season.
Yeah,
Because I want to see more of this.
yeah.
Why wouldn't
Give
you?
me this Uno and Stu Grayson having to step up and defend his students. That would be cool. There's a ton of other faces he could go and wrestle. Maybe he wants to go after Young Jay Lee for the title. Those two have got a lot of history. They had a match for the C4 title. They were teaming up about a year ago now. But I think my favorite visual from the match was when Benito got like that wooden stick or whatever he was using, broke it off of Uno while choking him with it, stabbing it into the rip in his mask,
Yeah.
and then licking the blood off of his hand.
Yeah.
That got a pretty audio like reaction from the crowd.
Yeah.
That was intense.
Yeah.
It felt that way through it when you were watching it too. Yeah, I mean, where it's going to go from here, I think a lot of finish talking about the match, but the babyface champions here at the end allows for me Uno to stay in this character, and whether it's still the world title, the underground, whatever it is, like there's lots of areas I think for the heels to work now with all the babyface champions that there are. The heels can come in and do, like, they need good heels, and I think Vertigo, if he stays, Zach's kicking him out, but
Get out of my territory, kid.
but if he stays, that's one that you can put, but you need some really good heels that people believe can win and they're going to be interesting with all the babyface champions. I really hope Uno doesn't go back to the other stuff. And I think the difference there, right, between the mystery wrestling and all the comedic stuff that he gets out, with all the wrestlers having a chance to do that in Gatineau, what a stark departure that is from his character in C4.
Yeah.
Right. Oh yeah, he runs the comedy stuff. Oh, like
Yeah.
a couple miles away.
Yeah.
But there couldn't be a less comedic guy this year than Uno, and turning up the intensity in Ottawa. I think just the difference between those two are amazing. So to your point, I hope Uno stays with this, and imagine the storyline that you just talked about like, no, we're the ones that run it, and putting all the students against each other and putting them all down for someone to come back up, and it's like having a title without a title,
Yeah.
because you have the keep, right? And people know about the keep. And everyone that goes to C4, they all know about the keep. So it's almost like you could use the keep as this title to be able to keep down. Like that storyline that you just said is an incredible storyline to me about all the different people that we're learning from these guys coming up and fighting for it. And he's trying to keep them down, and Grayson's involvement. Like he could be anywhere on that. He could be kind of leading the students. He could be with Uno. He could be this in-between guy of trying to make everybody happy. Like there's a lot to do there, which never involves the title. And people would be super interested in it. Imagine having like a takeover of the keep.
Yeah.
Right?
That'd
like
be sick.
Right. Or even the potential of like in a storyline of the takeover of the keep. And there's almost like a Nexus group.
They'll have yellow K's on their shirt coming in and tearing the arena apart. They're going to go over there and attack Dr. Bob and put him through the
Who's going to choke the voice with a tie? Who's going to be the one to do that?
Well, if there ever is a storyline, attacking Dr. Bob would be first on my list. So that's what Tanner told me before the show. So I wanted to repeat.
We'll make sure it's the one time that Dr. Bob's like sick and Zach has to fill in for commentary. That night.
So Zach's brother. They don't ask Zach to work.
No, they don't ask me to work those shows. They ask my brother to work the shows.
But anyway, I think imagine a group that goes off from the keep and wants to take it over and do it. Like there's just so many different things that you could work in, and have all your other wrestlers in title storylines and stuff. But let's get to McRae.
Yeah, McRae coming down partway through this matchup.
Mm-hmm.
And the big question,
he need to include himself in something that was important.
The big question, of course, being where his loyalties lie.
Right.
I thought they were going to pull the trigger here. I really did.
Me too.
If not during the match, then after. But the way that they teased it, I really liked it. Like him getting Junior back into the cage, maybe supplying some weapons, that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They built it up really well.
I think so too, because I think, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, that McRae ultimately wants to take that title from Junior. Yeah. He doesn't want to win it from Uno. He wants to win it from Junior. The guy who stabbed him in the back and threw the white towel in. He wants to win it from that guy.
Right.
That'll be the storyline anyway.
Yeah.
And I'm cheering for you, McRae. I am, because that has been Benito that won the title that cost you your chance by throwing in a white towel when that shouldn't have been thrown in.
Right.
Just saying, McRae.
If you're listening.
But I agree. I think one of the things I never mind as a fan is that if something is going to happen and I don't quite know what's going to happen, because it could go like, I don't want to say either way, but sometimes it could go many different ways, and you ultimately don't know. It's the main event. It's the season finale. And I don't know where this is going to go when McRae comes out. That it to me almost doesn't matter where it goes from there, because as a fan, I need that. I want to, like, I hate knowing everything that's ever going to happen. Like, oh, a couple minutes, this is going to happen, and then it happens. I love the intrigue. So that's where I give them a ton of credit, all of them involved, to be able to do this. So great job from all of them to be able to suspend that belief of like, okay, I'm a fan, I'm into this, I've watched, and I don't know what's going to happen. So same with me, Tanner. I thought they were going to pull the trigger, and they didn't quite do it.
No, they pulled the trigger in another way with McRae grabbing the door and not letting Uno grab it, and then slamming it onto him to pull off his hoodie and reveal the fresh air shirt. Pretty good reaction.
Yeah. Well, because he's a good guy and he's setting Junior up for what's to come.
Yeah.
Hopefully. But Zach, like I said, I love the fact that you don't know.
Yep.
So maybe other people did. I don't know. But if you're a fan and you were watching this and you knew, I think you're one of very few who actually did.
Yeah. I would have to question if you thought, oh yeah, of course I saw that the way that was going to go.
But that's good storytelling.
Yeah, absolutely. It I thought they played that off really well, and like what you mentioned, showing the fresh air shirts, like, all right, he's aligned with them for now. I still have my doubts
Yeah.
a little bit, but there's still kind of that simmering thing, but you could really build off of that for the next little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I thought that was really a great payoff, and then locking the door as well in there.
And Uno just took a whooping after that.
Yeah.
With the
Well, he's given a lot of whoopings this year, so he was
Yeah.
in line to take one.
Get some receipts, you know.
Yeah, he
gotta-
was in line to take one.
Yeah.
got whipped with his own belt.
Yeah, it was good
He got
to
speared through a door.
see. Yeah, that was good to see as well.
Out comes the sack, and there are Legos pulled all over the ring.
Yeah. Or as it was said on commentary, Danish blocks of death, I think it was called.
Danish blocks of death.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I didn't know
So-
that. That's great.
yeah.
Dr. Bob getting 3 mentions now. Here
Absolutely.
On this show.
That's the first positive one. Dr. Bob, we're just kidding, okay?
I love Dr. Bob.
I know he's a good human.
Yeah. And then Uno taking the power bomb
Yeah.
onto the Legos. I don't know if you ever stepped on them. It's not fun.
I have
Yeah.
stepped on them. I
Not
wouldn't
fun.
want to take a power bomb on them.
No.
Let alone 2 also, because he took his shirt
Yeah.
off and then did it again.
That's right. Look, Junior Benito. Okay, he wins the championship.
You didn't even mention he with the duct tape.
Oh, the duct
He
tape.
pulled
right.
duct tape out on his hands. I think
That's
it was
right.
it thumbtacks or glass. I couldn't
Glass.
tell. It was
Was
glass.
it?
They didn't say it, but I looked like glass.
I thought it was
Okay.
glass.
I couldn't
Yeah.
tell if it was tacks or glass from in the
Yeah.
arena. And then he clapped his cheek,
Yes.
if you will.
Yeah,
then,
there was a lot in this match.
The big frog splashed through a table.
Yeah, there was a lot in this match. And as much as I'm kind of hating on Junior here a little bit, the way they've written him, the way that he's performed and what he's done to be able to hold that title at the end of the year, it's such a good thing for C4 to have that rise, and we'll have everybody else see this is what you can do if you want to work hard and you put in your time, and Junior's put in his time, and everyone who's won championships the other night put in their time, but Junior really has, and he's captivated a lot of people along the way that have been cheering for him.
Yeah.
And again, I'm kind of hating on him here a little bit because I'm a big McRae Martin fan.
Yeah.
But and I don't change my allegiances easy, but I respect what Junior has done very much, and I would have been a little angry if he didn't win the title.
That's also to mention, we talked about Storm Rider earlier, London's little brother,
Yeah.
who's working the staff in the arena. That's where Junior Benito was just a couple of years ago,
Right.
volunteering, not even on the pre-show. And here he is. So what does
Yeah.
a guy like Storm think? Like, this is what I can achieve if I
Well, and
work hard and
that's
get
what
over.
I look. And when we talk to Mark, I'm sure he'll reiterate that. But that's what you want as a promotion. You want as a company. You want to bring your own people up, and you want them to achieve success on their own, but do it the way of hard work, so that all of the other people that are involved in your company go, that guy was putting the rings. That guy wasn't even on the pre-show. That guy has been volunteering, and now he is C4 champion in the cage in the main event, and has paid all of those dues and more. And that's exactly what you want everybody else to see. And not only Mark, but some of the veterans like Uno and Stu and those guys, I'm sure they want that too. They want to set that precedent for everybody there. And you talked about that sometimes Junior won, sometimes he lost, but we were there and he beat Janela, right? And they have other big names that when Junior's beating those big names that come in, that is something that is a massive thing, I think. And I also think now, as we get
That's a
to the
cue.
end,
Yeah.
we got a couple of dogs that have come in finally.
More
and
run-ins.
Yeah, they're saying, you know what? You guys need to end this.
We got to mention, though, I love the finish with Junior choking him out with the belt,
You thought that was the right finish?
because Uno was choking out a lot of people throughout the season. That's how he was winning his matches.
Right.
So really nice way to mirror that.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a really good point. Their consistency in what they've done is something that's been. I just give them. We started the program off a lot of credit for what they've been able to do. All right, so final thoughts on the season for C4 from beginning to end. and how it wrapped up. I mean, Tanner, you were there, so we'll start with you. But just the entire season, you have Benito now as the champion, Lee's the champion, Project 8100 are the champions. How they got there? Are you satisfied from like going from September to where they started, and Uno comes in and he's got the belt, and it's a different Uno to where they are now?
Incredibly satisfied. I think if you told me at the start of the season these would be our champions at the end, I'd be pretty happy. Obviously, a lot of twists and turns along the way. I don't think any of us predicted that Evil Uno would be the champion going into the finale here as this dominant heel.
Yep.
And it delivered. They had a lot of twists, a lot of turns. Like the Vertigo storyline would be another one. We didn't see that breakup coming, and it happened. And they're ending on a high. A lot of good reactions from the crowd. Kind of contrasting maybe season finales in the past. I'm pretty sure one of them involved Kevin Blackwood standing tall before Benito had won the title yet. Or I know Twiggy and his group looked pretty good after some of the seasons. But here we are with 3 sets of champions that I think everyone is really excited to have the titles and really excited to see where their reigns are going to go heading into Fighting Back and heading into the next season.
Same with you, Zach. Are you satisfied?
Yeah, very satisfied. And a lot of what Tanner said, I echo. You know, when you have a new set of champions, you kind of set a new tone for the next season. And in this case, you said a lot. It's like, all right, these are our guys. We are moving forward with these guys. Most of them are local guys. And even then with Myung-Jae Lee, he's been able to get over with the crowd as well. He's been a regular at C4.
He's a Buffalo guy, no?
Yeah, he's from Buffalo.
So
yeah,
and I know it's like 5 hours away or whatever, but it still feels kind of local. Like he's not like a guy from Texas or California or everything. Like people relate, I think, to, oh, he's from Buffalo. He's kind of from around here.
Yeah, exactly. So I really like this set of champions. I'm very interested to see what they do for the next season. Some of the stories that they could continue to move forward with. There's a lot of opportunities. There's a lot of branches that they could go off of with, especially in the main story with Junior and McRae. So very good stuff. Another really good season. And I'm very appreciative of Tanner being able to go to the shows as well and being able to cover them for us, especially in my case where I'm not able to get down to Ottawa all the time. So it really helps that you've been able to get to these shows and give us these reports as well. It's helped us out a lot.
A big congrats to C4 on 17 years as well. That's not to be understated. That's huge.
It's incredible, actually. I'm glad you brought that up.
Especially for indie wrestling. Like,
oh, man.
It's unbelievable.
And some of the, I'm sure the lows that they had to get through to think, is this worth it? Is it worth it to continue and keep going? And the fact that they have and they're at this level, I think they're going to look back on this year and go, this is one of the most successful years ever. Not just from a business point of view, but from what we just talked about. When you're a fan and you go, there's a difference between, okay, I don't like those guys, but they won. But in the back of your mind, you're like, but they're pretty good.
Yeah.
Like even Uno being champion, like I didn't really think at the beginning, but like he's one of the guys who runs wrestling around here. He's really good. So when you deliver on all your new champions, and I think the fans, it would be to me like in the 1% of people who don't appreciate what Project 8100, what Lee and Benito, what they've done, how they've got there, how hard they've worked, whether you like them, they're your favorite or they're not your favorite, you respect the hell out of all of those guys. And I think when you leave a season with fans going home with, we respect those guys so much and look what they were able to accomplish and what they've put into it to now get out of it, I don't know how you could be more successful. Like all of those champions, all of them. So congratulations. And look, if they're not performing, I'm going to be hard on them. This isn't like hey, we're an Ottawa-based show that is an Ottawa-based company. I think they've done a really consistent, good job at doing things the right way. And when they're not perfect, I'll call them on it.
Yep.
Zach won't, but Tanner will, and I will. No, you'll get off on some tangent about something that doesn't really matter, or like you're a broadcaster. You
gotta fill the time,
Yeah, you find but there's good points about this. And like, actually, no, there isn't.
Oh, Look at me trying to find the positives and something.
Yeah.
And-
Hornsey
Exactly.
can't lose all his bookings.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I need to maintain those bookings, brother.
But this is a very successful indie promotion.
Yes.
And just really excited to see now where they go. Fighting back in August, as you said, they're 100% of the proceeds going to the Cancer Foundation, and they do such an incredible job. I just think August is going to be amazing.
Yeah.
Like
I can't
coming off
wait.
this, and a couple, there'll be some names
Mhm.
coming in, and
It's also the Fighting Back Rumble every year.
yeah.
Yep.
So, and then they've already announced, I think, a couple matches for the season opening in September, have they not? Or at least
Not that I've seen.
No. I believe Mark said in the next couple of days we'll probably be getting a first match, but it's
Okay.
still a little bit early because usually we're a month out, whereas here they're taking July off. So that's kind of the nature of independent wrestling, I guess.
I'm sure I saw that somebody was at least promoted to be at the show, but anyway, we'll figure
Maybe
that out.
I have been away from the internet as much as I,
I haven't
can
seen
the last couple
anything.
days.
I don't think they've announced anything.
Well, if Tanner hasn't seen it, it must not have happened.
Well, look, he's our scoops guy.
No, I know.
mean, and-
That's what Zach. I was being very serious.
Per my sources.
yeah, for your sources.
But for all the people that go, the regulars, they're the ones, the backbone that support C4. So you should be congratulated as well, to be able to do that. So we're looking forward to it. Thanks, Tanner. Always good to have you, as Zach said, there and just be a part of the group.
Always great to be here. And I'll say to anybody listening who hasn't been to a C4 show, if you're going to check out one, I say this every year, but make Fighting Back that one. Because for a great cause there, like you mentioned, all the proceeds going to the Canadian Cancer Society. I believe they've raised over $600,000
Yep.
over the last number of years, all in memoriam of a local wrestler that passed away from cancer. And it's something that affects all of us in one way or another. So yeah, that's Friday, August 15th at the Preston Event Center. I'll be there for sure.
Friday, August 15th. Okay. And I'm just trying to look up, if the dogs and cats weren't here, I'd be able to look up the internet in the basement. But
Mhm.
the beginning of September, I think it's like September.
For the next C4 show?
Yeah.
They're usually like last weekend of the.
Yeah, they're usually later in September, but I'm sure we'll get some sort of date announcement in the next little bit and get excited for some of the names that are coming out for C4.
I believe Mark did post somewhere that it's the same weekend as All Out. Would be the September one.
Which
the
would
Friday
make sense,
before.
which would make sense.
Yes.
So the 19th then would be.
I want to say it's the 19th, but don't quote me on that. All we know for sure is the August 15th show there for August.
There's
and Fighting
somebody
Back.
that's listening in right now that's like, "Come on, guys, it's this day."
Yeah, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Just
Just yelling at their.
we're all
radios.
going to All Out, so
Yep.
that's not ideal, but we'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out.
I'm looking forward to that. But always great to have you, Tanner, on the program. This has been a very long but
Yes,
thorough show of the C4
we just hit 2 hours on our
season
recording.
finale. Well, dogs and cats got in the way. There's a
we had
little bit.
run-ins and
Exactly.
yeah,
And there's a lot to talk about.
yeah. there is.
And we don't get to do this in person. So this has been
No.
fun. And I hope you enjoyed it. If, like Tanner said, if you have not gone out to watch a C4 show, go just promote it, and be a champion if you're a wrestling fan of your local community.
Mhm.
And I think you'll be entertained.
Absolutely.
I think you'll be going back again. So Friday, August 15th. We know that one.
Yeah,
Yes,
and
that one we
and
know.
I'll say don't wait for tickets for this one because they go a lot quicker than a lot of the other C4 shows.
Right. Because everyone wants to be a part of it. And they'll probably bring in a couple of names for that particular show too.
Zach mentioned Cody Rhodes and the Young Bucks a few years ago.
Yep.
Eddie Kingston was one that they brought in.
Ultimo
fairly
Dragon was one they
recently.
brought in. So they bring in some big names.
Yeah. And I mean, with the connections too, like I said, I think London and his brother are working with Cody, and sure Cody knows a few people. If you
Yeah.
know, it won't be Cody, but
We had Mustafa Ali, I believe, fairly recently
Yes,
as well.
you're right. Yeah, that's right.
And Dijak was here.
Dijak, yeah. Dijak was another one.
Yeah. So
A lot of names.
Yeah, there's been some fairly big names. So talk about big names. Tanner Reil, Zach McGibbon, Lever Stage. Thanks again for listening to This Is Wrestling.